Hello, I'm Joe Williams, and I'd like you to join me for a trip on a double-decker bus into the city and back. Recently, Brisbane's public transport organisation Translink started trials for double-decker buses on some of its express routes. One of those was Route 315, the Scarborough to City Express and return. Route 315 runs every weekday, excluding public holidays, on the hour, beginning at 5:50 a.m. in Scarborough and concluding there at 7:40 p.m. On average, a trip to or from the city takes about 55 minutes. It's an interesting route to trial a double-decker bus, with a number of overpasses and large overhanging trees, not to mention occasional water views and the elevated ride through the city. Before we jump on board, however, please indulge me while I present an overview of the route in order to provide you with some orientation. So as not to contravene any copyright laws, we've decided to produce our own map for this occasion. For the benefit of those who are not familiar with Brisbane, the metropolitan area stretches along the western shore of Moreton Bay. It is largely protected from the ravages of the Pacific Ocean by two large sand islands, North Stradbroke and Moreton Islands. It is quite a sizable bay, about 40 nautical miles north to south and up to 15 east to west. It can be a formidable stretch of water to the unwary because of its shallow depth, 5 to 8 metres or so, and its many shoals. It can quickly kick up 3-metre waves in boisterous weather. Near its northwestern corner, a peninsula juts out, Redcliffe Peninsula. In so doing, it creates two smaller bays, Deception Bay to the north and Bramble Bay, which we'll be crossing to the south. Our journey begins at the northern tip of the peninsula, from the locality Scarborough, at the junction of Scarborough Road and 5th Avenue. It's about 31 kilometres to the General Post Office in the city from here, and the GPO lies slightly to the southwest of our point of commencement. So along Scarborough Road, past the Redcliffe Hospital, along Victoria Avenue, and then right onto the Hornibrook Esplanade that leads onto the Ted Smout Memorial Bridge. This relatively new southbound bridge was completed in 2010 to assist its adjacent counterpart, the Houghton Highway Bridge, which now exclusively carries northbound traffic. The original bridge that crossed Bramble Bay was called the Hornibrook Highway Bridge, completed in 1935 and now dismantled. It was largely of timber construction and creaked and clunked and gave an appropriate wavy ride over Bramble Bay for 44 years, or so I'm told. While it was still a pedestrian and cycle crossing, I rode my bike across it a number of times before its eventual demise in 2011, and can recall recording a distance of 2.7 kilometres on my trip meter, gate to gate. Incidentally, the explorer Matthew Flinders was the first European to sail into Moreton Bay through its northern entrance, and on the 17th of July 1799 set foot on the southern tip of the Redcliffe Peninsula, now known as Woody Point. He then rowed across to where our bridge of today commences at Clontarf Point. From this point, Flinders returned to his vessel, the Norfolk, anchored about 1.5 nautical miles offshore from Woody Point, clear of the dangerous inner reefs. To date, Redcliffe City does not celebrate Flinders' landing on a regular basis, and also is yet to erect a monument at Woody Point. Once off the southbound bridge, we transit the Deegan Deviation through bushland and wetlands on the left, and then past a training racecourse. We run alongside the gateway on our right for a few kilometres until diverting left and coming to the intersection of Board Street and Depot Road. Then across the intersection. We're actually on Braun Street until the Gateway motorway runs over the top of us a little further south, just near Cabbage Tree Creek. From here, we're officially on Sandgate Road, and will remain so until approaching the inner city area at Albion. We are now steering slightly southeast until crossing the Northern Railway line at the southern end of Virginia, and then turning slightly west of south. The Nunda Tunnel turns us briefly southeast again, and then we're back on southwest as we once more cross the Northern Line and pass the location of Toombul with a shopping centre and local bus terminus on the left. Up ahead of us, the airport train viaduct runs overhead. Then it's up the hill through Clayfield, across the Brisbane railway line, and on through the inner city suburbs of Albion and Bowen Hills, crossing Breakfast Creek and running underneath the inner city bypass. We cross the main Northern Line yet again, and then we join St Paul's Terrace and run along the top of Fortitude Valley. By this time, there's a real sense that you're nearing the city. We zigzag along Barry Parade and left onto Gopher Street, and then right into Ann Street. It takes us to a stop outside Central Station, after which we turn left into Edward Street and then drive down the hill for 2 blocks before turning left again into Queen Street. And finally now, facing a reciprocal course of northeast and passing the General Post Office on our right, we cruise to our final destination, stop 60, between Creek and Wall Streets. Here, Route 315 finalises one service and commences another. Let's do it. Scarborough. We're off, south along Scarborough Road. Soon we'll be speeding up the footage. Otherwise, we'd never get there. So, sit back and relax, and I'll alert you to points of interest en route. Observe the double-decker here as it manoeuvres past the electricity workers. The large building ahead is the Redcliffe Hospital with its distinctive striped chimney. Now we're running along Victoria Avenue. The water tower on the left is a peninsular landmark. Clontarf. And now we're turning into Hornibrook Esplanade, which leads onto the Houghton Highway. Brighton. The Deegan deviation commences here. It describes a large crescent shape bending to the left southeast. Here's the gateway running alongside on the right. On the left is a training track for horses, only clearly seen southbound. We follow its border down to the intersection. This is the intersection of Board Street and Depot Road. We turn left here on our return sector in order to join the Gateway motorway for a short stretch. Boondall. Now we're on Braun Street until crossing Cabbage Tree Creek and passing under the Gateway motorway. Then it becomes Sandgate Road all the way to Albion, through Deagon and Boondall and now Nudgee College coming up on the left. Virginia, and brief glimpse of the main northern line as we cross over. If you were catching the train to Cairns, this is the way you would leave the city. Nunda. Here's the Nunda Tunnel. As we emerge, we pass the shopping centre and bus terminus on our left. Ahead is an airport train heading east to the airport. Unfortunately, the viaduct is not constructed of arches and colonnades in carved sandstone, as in previous times. Clayfield. Up the hill we go, through Clayfield and Albion. Until we leave Sandgate Road and cross Breakfast Creek into Bowen Hills. Bowen Hills. Now we pass under the inner city bypass. The city definitely feels closer now. Fortitude Valley. We join St Paul's Terrace and drive southwest. We're about to turn left at this intersection, but if we were to keep going ahead, we would come to Spring Hill, which is an extended business district sitting atop the said hill, to the northwest of Brisbane City. Now we're on the northeast border of the city, as we bring the footage back to normal. the city. So here we are in Ann Street, facing southwest. Occasionally you see a nice old building tucked away between the concrete and glass. This is Central Station, our second last stop of the route. To our left are Anzac Square, Post Office Square and the GPO. We'll soon be driving between the latter two in the opposite direction. Observe this shot. It's as if Adelaide Street is having its own game of buses. As we turn into Queen Street, the Queen Street Mall is back directly behind us. Most visitors to Brisbane begin their pilgrimages from here. Here is the GPO and Post Office Square. And further off, Anzac Square, all representing a sort of epicentre of Brisbane. On more pleasant days, office workers make the most of the lawn and being out in the open. The distant clock tower is near where we stopped at Central Station. Finally, we come to stop 60. We've made good an average speed of 35 kilometres per hour, or about 22 miles per hour. Not bad considering stops and traffic lights.